It's no Raptor, but whether on springs or air suspension, the new 1500 is handy off-road. With the presentation of the 5th age Ram 1500, FCA's Truck Image has tried to guarantee there's a model accessible that is custom-made to the necessities of pretty much every truck purchaser out there. What's more, with regards to rough terrain capacity, the individuals who intend to invest a lot of energy out in the soil have two apparent alternatives with regards to equipping a 1500 for the activity: either scratch off the case for the 4x4 off-street package on the choices sheet, accessible on regardless of trim levels from Rebel, or essentially decide on the Rebel Demonstrate. Presently donning another, more inflexible casing, which Ram says is the longest, lightest and most productive in the half-ton truck portion, in addition to retuned front suspension geometry and a third-age 5-connect setup at the back. The plan of the new 1500 spotlights on supporting quality while dropping a few pounds, both of which should pay profits rough terrain. It may entice to reject the Rebel as simply an appearance bundle intended to draw purchasers from Ford's F-150 Raptor in view of looks to the exclusion of everything else, except the Rebel's rough terrain accreditations do, truth be told, stretch out past the styling. Presently accessible in both quad taxi and group taxi cab arrangements because of the amplified outline, Rebel models are equipped with a 1-inch suspension lift versus the standard truck, rough terrain one-sided raised suspension geometry, upgraded Bilstein studs that component remote supplies at the back for enhanced warmth administration, and 33-inch Goodyear Wrangler DuraTrack off-road tires, which put the ability to the ground through an electronic locking back differential. Underbody slip plates give insurance to the exchange case, controlling framework, oil dish and gas tank, and weighty tow snares with wide guard openings are fitted as standard to enhance convenience. Alongside 4WD low and 4WD high modes, the Rebel additionally includes slope plummet control to make the pickup less demanding to oversee and soak, approximately press downhill segments. In the wake of exchanging the move case into 4WD low and dropping the mallet, our analyzer made short work of some honestly requesting territory without to such an extent as an untoward mon. Despite the fact that the sheer size and weight of the truck are apparent consistently, the 395 horsepower Hemi V8 prepared Rebel limited easily through groove-topped gorges and off-slopes that were sufficiently steep to be really crude by walking, while its normally suctioned motor gave direct, unsurprising force conveyance and an awakening 8-barrel soundtrack. There were spots where the Rebel's confinements wound up clear, however. We immediately found that heading through some of those low-speed, thickly stuffed grooves with a lot Zio could rapidly overpower the suspension. While some of that can be credited to this current columnist's lead foot, it's important that the Rebel isn't furnished with the kind of multi-stage damping innovation seen on Ford's most recent Raptor. That tech permits the pressure and bounce-back attributes of the stunt change contingent upon the situation of the suspension, thusly hardening the suspension as it packs to deal with greater occasions, for example, these. Our second grumble came amid the quicker open areas through profound sand. While the Rebel handles this stuff without much dramatization, we needed to have the capacity to physically control the 8-speed transmission's conduct to hold it in a lower apparatus and power through this piece of the course. The gearbox had different thoughts, be that as it may, and without paddle shifters, the best way to address this in any significant route is to prearrange the gear limit highlight, which just keeps the transmission from upshifting past a specific foreordained rigging, before going into a specific segment of a trail. That is simply not an especially rich arrangement. At last these are minor bandy however, and actually most people who are purchasing this pickup for its rough terrain ability presumably won't miss the absence of multi-stage dampers or shifters. The individuals who do will probably locate a simple arrangement in the post-retail or from FCA's own particular Mopar Performance division, at any rate where the suspension is concerned. Our coil-over suspension prepared Rebel isn't the best way to get rough terrain ability in the new 1500. The Longhorn 4x4 we drove before in the day was furnished with a discretionary dynamic air suspension framework, which Ram says upgrades fuel proficiency, The truck can dig in on the expressway, assisting with streamlined features, while enhancing ride quality and offering load leveling and ride stature customizability. Strangely, while the past emphasis of the Rebel came standard with air suspension, the more customary coilover setup is currently the default arrangement. Air suspension remains an alternative. The air suspension's more upscale vibe bodes well with the Longhorn, where the pleasing on-street ride quality and the capacity to bring down the truck for freight stacking will presumably be altogether valued. And keeping in mind that this specific Longhorn 4x4's off-street package didn't have the customary springs found on our Rebel Analyzer, it was furnished with the same electronic locking back differential, slip plates, slope plummet control, lifted ride stature and reconsidered suspension geometry, so there was still a lot of ability on tap. Out and about, the contrasts between the three selectable suspension statures as far as ride quality appeared to be unimportant. However, dropping it to its most minimal setting helps the new Ram 1500 accomplish a best-in-section drag coefficient of 0.357. Also, despite the fact that our rough terrain trips in the Longhorn were more concise and distinctly less requesting than our trail sessions in the Rebel, we can report that the previous felt fastened down and all-around formed with insignificant body movement while trekking through thickly stuffed and uneven earth streets at high speeds. We'd think that with its retractable running sheets, air suspension and 32-inch Falcon Wildcat off-road elastic, the Longhorn would be somewhat less beyond any doubt footed in the unpleasant stuff than the Rebel was, yet not by much. At the point when entrusted with dispatching ungracious driving courses and taking care of extensive spells on unpaved streets, likely the most requesting going dirt road romping that the greater part of industrial facility prepared 4x4s will ever observe, both the Rebel and the off-street package prepared Longhorn feel overqualified for the activity. Obviously, in the event that you feel that you require more than that, we're certain FCA would be glad to offer you a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe.